the stars. We don't know why.
What is up, comic book fans? Chris the Jedi here. First comic book review for the month of October, October 5th. That's what these books are for. As always, I want to thank everyone over at Arkham Comics. It's where I get my comics, and they're just really awesome people. So if you're near the area, you should definitely go check them out. It's just a cool place to go hang out and, fun people to be with. Anyhow, I'm going to jump right into it this week. I only had a few titles this week, 3 of my own and 2 that my wife has on her list. And a few of the ones that are on her list I'm reading also. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Swamp Thing number 2. This was one of the books that I read the first one. I thought it was pretty good, so I figure I'd at least read a few more. And I think I'm going to continue to read this throughout the series. Number 2 was really good. If you remember my review about number 1, I said there's a lot of setup, and this explains a lot of the stuff that happened in that one. If you're a Swamp Thing fan, I don't really know. I didn't read any of the old Swamp Thing stuff first, so I don't really know how this goes along with that. But I think this is a really cool storyline. And Wednesday, when I was sitting down to read it, I was telling my wife, it almost seems like there's some things happening that could kind of link it with Jeff Lemire's Animal Man. And then Lemire tweeted the other night that he and Scott Snyder, who's the writer for Swamp Thing, are going to be getting together, and I think it starts next year sometime, and I think it's going to be a year-long crossover between Animal Man and Swamp Thing. So that's pretty cool. Anyhow, Swamp Thing number 2 by Scott Snyder, who also does Batman, and Yannick Paquette. The art in this is really cool. It's different than you see in a lot of stuff, and it has to be very detailed with the swamp creatures and stuff like that. And so I really appreciate the art in it. Like I said, it's a good story, and so if you're into things that aren't really capes and tights, or if you're a strictly caped and tight person like I normally am, and you want to kind of branch out a little bit, but you want to stick with the writers that you already know and you already love, Swamp Thing is a great book to do it. So go out and pick up Swamp Thing number 2 by Scott Snyder. Like I said, it's just a really great book. I'm trying to find some place to lay this down. Okay, my next book is Batwing number 2. Judd Winnick, Ben Oliver. This one is Against the Savagery of Massacre. As I said after I read the first one of these, which I read it on suggestion from Sarah, who, they own Arkham Comics. This originally wasn't a book that I was going to read. But I read the first one, and it was awesome. This one is not disappointing. This one's... The violence, and the bloodshed and the massacre in this book make it an awesome book to read. And that may sound kind of dark, or I don't think so. It's a comic book, and I say violence in quotes because I have this whole theory about how violence is real. If comic books aren't real, then it's not really violence. But anyhow, maybe I'll make a video about that sometime. Anyhow, so just the action that's in this. This guy Massacre, he's crazy. He's just like killing people left and right, and nobody can really seem to stop him. Anyhow, this is just really cool. The art is so cool. It's dark, and it's really different than anything I've seen. I don't think I've ever seen any of Ben Oliver's work in anything else. So, it's kind of different. I really, really dig it. But Batwing number 2 was great. Go out, pick up number 1, pick up number 2. I would say if you're a fan of the Bat family, just go ahead and add this to your pull list because you're going to enjoy this book. For those of you who don't know and you missed my first review, Batwing is the African Batman, actually in Africa. And so you have a lot of interesting things that happen there. So this is going to be a really good title. Both issues so far have been really great. So go ahead and pick up Batwing. My next one is a title that continually, like, I'm very pleased, very pleased with the way the writers and the artists are handling this title. And it's a title I normally wouldn't read, but I'm glad that these people are doing it. Superman Action Comics number 2. The Action Comics title, first of all, let me just say that the Action Comics title is way better than the Superman title. Grant Morrison, who's one of my favorite writers, and did what is, in my opinion, the greatest Superman story ever, All-Star Superman. Is that correct? He did All-Star Superman. Yeah. Anyhow, it's just the way he does this story, it's great. Rags Morale does the art, and I really like his art in this. But this is so cool. This is taking the story back, and I was reading some things. If you read in the back of the issue, it has like this kind of interview process with Grant and Rags, and they're talking about their ideas for this comic book, and it's great. Grant Morrison essentially is saying he got tired of the invincible, nothing can hurt him Superman that we've had for the last 25 or 30 years, and he said, let's take it back to the 40s and the 50s, when stuff could hurt Superman, and it was enjoyable reading Superman back then because you didn't know how it was going to turn out, you know? Now it's just, they have to invent new colors of kryptonite for anything to be able to hurt him at all. It's just ridiculous. But Action Comics, this is just a great title. He still can't fly yet, which is really cool. You know, he just jumps really far. So this is a young Superman. Ma and Pa Kent have died. He moved to the big city. They've changed a few things historically, you know, in the history of Superman, like Jimmy Olsen. You know, it's always Superman's pal Jimmy. Well, now it's Clark Kent's pal Jimmy. And they're like best friends, and Grant even talks about how, you know, they're kind of nerdy guys who probably have blogs, and Jimmy puts all his photos on Flickr and everything. So it's just a very, if you can imagine a realistic Superman, that would be this title. So anyhow, in this one, as you can see, Superman's been captured. If you read the first one, you know, he gets captured there at the end of it, and basically it's just him escaping. But it's really good, and Grant Morrison is doing a phenomenal job with this title. Like I said, the Action Comics title is way better than the Superman title, so go pick that up. That's one. I don't know how long I'll read Superman, but I'm going to read Action Comics. I mean, at least as long as Grant Morrison is doing it. I know sometimes they'll switch writers, you know, after a year or, you know, 2 years or however many issues. So I'm going to read it as long as Grant Morrison's doing it for sure, because I love the dude. So anyhow, go pick that up. My next title, and this one kind of goes along with some of the things that I was saying about Superman and how Action Comics is better than the Superman title. Batman Detective Comics number 2. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say where I did like the Batman title, Detective Comics is better than Batman. So you have Action Comics being better than the Superman title, and Detective Comics being better than the Batman title. This is written and drawn by Tony Daniel, and then Ryan Wynn, I believe, does all the inks. And this is just really cool. And also, and I look for little things like this. I always think it's neat when the artist will put their signature into the picture like it's a part of the picture instead of just signing it in the bottom corner. So if I can get up close enough for you to see that, right there on the arm of the chair, you can see the signatures right there. So that's just a cool little detail I thought was neat. I've said it before, I love Tony Daniel's Batman art. The story, I mean, it's a really, really well-written story. I would definitely suggest picking this up. And I'm only going to do suggestions for, you know, maybe, you know, the first 3 issues. After that, if you're not already picking it up, oh well, I'm just going to tell you what I think about the book, and then that's going to be the end of it. But I do suggest picking this up. This is just, in my opinion, this is the best Batman title out there right now. Dark Knight was really good, which is done by David Finch. It was really good, but I really love this Detective Comics. I love Tony Daniel. I love his storytelling. I love his art for Batman, and so this was really, really great. Let me flip through. I'm thinking this was one that I wanted to show something specific in it. Oh, yes. This was, at the end of the last one, the Joker's face was cut off, which is like the coolest panel I've ever seen in a comic book ever. Just the Joker's face hanging there on the wall. And I know if you read this, then you've already read it, so I don't mind spoiling this. But this is a pretty awesome panel also. Just this full page right here. This guy, the doll maker, who's the villain throughout this story arc, has cut up, or at least we're being led to believe that he's cut up Commissioner Gordon. So it's really cool. I'm excited to see where that's going. Like I said, the book is just good. Like, it actually has me. It's not just I read it and then it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. I read it and I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait till next month. So it's really, really awesome. Just a really great book. Now, I've gone through all of my regular titles, which would be Detective Comics, Action Comics, and, what was the other one? Oh yeah, Batwing. And those are titles that I get, and then Swamp Thing was my wife's, and I have one title left, and I still haven't picked a pick of the week. So my pick of the week is not actually coming from any of my books. If you're reading this book, it will come as no surprise to you that I'm picking this for this week's pick. But Animal Man #2. This is by Jeff Lemire and Travel Foreman. And the whole time I'm reading this, I'm just like smiling. This is awesome, man. This is so awesome. This is awesome. This is just a really great storyline. In the first one, at the very end of it, you see that Maxine, Animal Man's daughter, she like brings animals back from the dead. And so now in this one, A-Man and Maxine are kind of headed out to find the Red. And that's one of the things that I think is going to kind of tie in with the Swamp Thing title once they start doing that crossover. I think the Red is what's going to kind of tie it all together because they mentioned that very briefly in Swamp Thing. Anyhow, the art in this is just crazy. The attention to detail, I love it. It's dark, it's gritty, and Animal Man is just a cool hero. If you're not into the typical, Batman and Superman and stuff like that, but you still want a superhero, Animal Man is your guy. I mean, this guy is he's awesome. I actually plan on going back and eventually getting some of the older stuff from Animal Man and trying to pick up some trades and stuff like that, because it's a character that I'm really growing to love. I love the Animal Man character. Anyhow, Animal Man #2. This is my pick of the week. This is just a great book. Like I said, Jeff Lemire, who's doing a great job with this. I'm really getting into a lot of his stuff. He's done this, Sweet Tooth. I just recently read the Sweet Tooth trade, the first series. It's like issues 1 through 6 or something like that. And maybe it's 1 through 4. Anyhow, something like that. And that was really great. Lemire did an awesome run on Superboy for a little while. That was just phenomenal. Some of the best Superboy stuff ever written. So I'm really getting into Lemire stuff. Go out and pick up Animal Man. Like I said, pick of the week. I love Batman. Batman's my, see, I have this Batman picture right back here that was done by a local artist. He's a comic book artist, and he's a friend. I work with his wife, and we know each other from Arkham Comics, and he did that back on Free Comic Book Day, and I won it in this little Twitter thing that he was doing. So it's really cool. I have that framed and it's sitting back there. I have Batman stuff all over the place. Batman is my favorite, and I never thought that there would be a week where I have a Batman title and it's not my pick of the week. But I did this week. Animal Man. Read this book. If you're not reading, this is All my comic book watchers out there who are comic book people, ignore this for a minute. Let me talk to my friends who are vegans and they're into like the hardcore scene and they're animal rights activists and things like that. Pick up Animal Man. You're gonna love this guy. He's essentially everything that you stand for, only he's a superhero also. So this is really cool. Pick up Animal Man. Buy them all. Every time it comes out, buy them all. It's just a really awesome title. So, anyhow, those are my books for this week. Once again, it's Sunday before I'm getting my video done. But I stay pretty busy during the week. So, I don't know, I guess one of these weeks, maybe I'll start doing them on Wednesday or Thursday. That's always my plan, but it never works out. Anyhow, before I go, I watched Transformers last night. For those of you who have not watched it, don't. It's not worth the $1 I spent at Redbox to watch it. It's kind of a shame what they're doing to the Transformers storyline. It's really like Michael Bay just says, "Hey, can I blow stuff up?" and people watch it for 2.5 hours, and put people that the general population is conceded is hot. Put them in there despite their acting abilities and see if I can get you to watch this movie for 2.5 hours. Also, it's nothing but a big advertisement, which Transformers has kind of been that way for a little while, a big GM advertisement, which is fine. I was actually okay with that because it's a movie about cars. But this one, every time you turn around, it's GM and Lenovo and Cisco and things like that. And so it really gets annoying. Target and Lowe's, and they got the NASCAR things in there. And it really gets annoying. I wish he had spent a little less money on his sparky explosions. By the way, have you ever seen something explode and sparks fly? Every time something explodes, sparks fly. A bridge explodes, and sparks fly. It's ridiculous. And there's just an unrealistic amount of smoke for everything. So I wish he had spent a little less money on that and spent more than $7 or $8 on paying somebody to come up with a script for it. So anyhow, that's my little rant about that. A lot of you probably went and saw it in a theater. But I didn't. Instead, I went and saw Harry Potter 3 or 4 times every time I would go to the theater for like, I don't know, however long. Like the last 3 movies I went to see in the theater were Harry Potter, though. So, anyhow, that was my rant about that. Everyone enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your comic books. And like I always say, support your local shops. Thanks.